Hello and welcome to the DrEnderPickles Show. Today I have x0XP on.
Hey,
So my first question for you is, when and where did you find 2B2T?
I not like everyone else did. I found it like shortly after I started playing Minecraft in sometime early 2011. I can't remember exactly when. Basically around my account creation date, which is like February. I was playing some server and just griefing shit, and then I got told by the owner of it to join 2v2t if I wanted to carry on griefing, and that was basically that.
Yeah, and what was it like during those kind of early days on in the server?
No one used to cheat. Or anyone that did it was like they hid it from everyone, and it was really frowned upon. So I can remember playing, and some guy that I based with in some spawn base about 500 blocks from spawn, um, was using some like health mods. I can't even remember what he was using. He was just using some little health cheats, and we kept trying to kill him and couldn't. And yeah, eventually I started using, I think it was Zombies Flight, and yeah, just no one cheated. You got like few people flying, a couple people using X-ray, but the majority of everyone was vanilla. It was really weird.
Yeah, and when did hacks start to become a little more prevalent in the server?
I think it was around the time that there was loads of player data lost, and uh, basically the server went down for like months at a time. And I think it was around there. I can't remember because I stopped playing for a few months, then came back in like October, November 2011, and all of a sudden everyone was just cheating. Like it was literally everyone by that point.
Who were some of the people that maybe you remembered from that time? Different maybe like allies, enemies.
Um, the first guy I based with was a guy from Face Punch called DeAndre T. I can remember Polly the Parrot, really on. XCC2 as well. I got to know him from flying around at NFE. Um, but that was like the only time I bumped into him. I didn't really play much until the end of 2011 when most of the shit started going off with backdoors and stuff. So I
Yeah,
probably
and
remember two people.
yeah, what were some of the back doors that you mentioned that were around at that time?
Well, Pop Bob had his. Like when I joined back in, I can't remember if it was started then or like if they all got that working when I started again, playing again, or if it was after. But I can remember like as soon as I started playing again, I made friends with XCC2 because I'd previously bumped into him. Um, sorry, I'm trying to think of what I'm saying. Yeah, and then like within about a month, they let me have backdoor access to Pop Bob's plugin at the time, and then
Yeah, was that like
that was about
Thunderhack
like a week later.
or whatever that
Oh
was?
no, that was his backdoor plugin. It was to stop people going on Neverroof.
Gotcha. Yeah, and who were some people that maybe got in your way? Some people that griefed any of your bases, or you went up against.
Um, I think Harblack's dead. There was Harblack. There was a guy called Upane. I think that's how he said his name. He was really annoying. It was some kid that used to come to NFE and he'd come constantly trying to grief it. And he had some weird hacks that, like, at the time, no one could speed on ice and stuff like that. And he was speeding around on ice, and he'd be fighting like me, XCC2, Police Mike. I think Pop a few times. Just Passy as well. And he had this weird hack where he could like, whenever he died, he'd respawn where you killed him as well. So he was just like constantly getting all his shit back, and he was really bloody annoying.
Yeah, I actually remember back when I played on 3B3T back when Tristan and Pyro were running it. They were running the temp map from 2B2T around 2014, and I
Mm.
remember I remember you playing on there with Sleepy Little Fox and some other dude. I think it was the Fox or something. There are two different foxes. That's all I
I
remember.
don't. Yeah, yeah, probably.
And I remember you like griefed like mine, Kane's Law, like and Drew's like little shit base that was
Oh
like
shit,
right
no,
next to spawn. It was hilarious.
I don't remember anything
Like
like that.
that's one thing I remember like vividly from when I like just started because you guys like rode in on horses and just fucking demolished everything. Like literally like shit on the little shit base, and everyone was fucking
Like
freaking
this
out.
isn't really relevant to the same thing, but I can remember I was playing years ago with Milo 66, who was an alt account of Irish Boy 55. He was at Imp Base. We went attacking a bunch of the face punch bases that were run by like Cold Wave and stuff like that. I don't know if his name's still relevant anymore, but we kind of just kept getting the coordinates and just casually strolled into the base and just killed everyone there and then blew the base up. And we did it like 3 or 4 times.
Damn. Speaking of that, like what were some other experiences like that maybe you had on the server with different people?
Say that again.
What were some other experiences like that maybe you had on the server with different types of people?
There's not really actually been that many other than, I mean, there was the 1 mil base stuff that went off, where I think Chris and everyone tried chasing me, and then it ended up with me chasing all of them instead for like 2 hours of gameplay time.
Yeah.
But that's like it. There's never really been that much that's gone off. Not that I can remember anyway, other than at spawn.
So you've been kind of off and on 2B. What were some of the times that you played and maybe took a break?
Oof, God. I mean, I've just had a break for like the past year. Like when? What do you mean?
Just maybe when you've had some downtime on the server where you've left for a while. Yeah, I know. Like you said recently, you just came back after a year because I remember you were here a year ago. But yeah, notice you haven't been around.
I mean, there was a break in 2011 when it kind of started. I think when I came back from there, I played it consistently until like, oh God, until like 2014. And I think 2014, 2015. And then I think I stopped playing again for like 2 years. And then came back in 2016 after all the Russia stuff.
Yeah, and so you said you came back during the Russia stuff. How were you kind
Yeah,
of involved in all of that situation? Because that must have been
I
interesting.
wasn't at all. Yeah, I developed X0XP with Sergeant Pepper. But other than that, I wasn't involved in 2v2T at all after 2016. Like, I just played on Constantium, and that was about it.
Well, maybe what were some of your experiences on Constantium then? Because if you played there a majority of the time, you must have met, or based with a lot of people from 2B. Since I know, a lot of 2B people have kind of migrated to that server over time. It seems to be kind of the primary offshoot in a way for a lot of older
I think
players.
the main thing I had on Constantium was, I don't know if there's been any bigger gatherings since, but I think I kind of started the biggest player gathering on Constantium, which was just a total meme in general and was all planned just to start killing people. Like, we set up some little fake wedding thing with Mamana, and it was kind of funny, to be honest. But the whole server like came together for this one location and built on this like these cords that were like 2k out from spawn, and then I think the whole base got withered like a day before, and we managed to kill all the withers, clear the withers out, rebuild the entire base, and still do our live stream the next day, which just turned into chasing people down and killing people at the end.
Jesus Christ, it's crazy. But
Yeah, but other than that, I didn't really have any involvement other than annoying Varga Girl and Madam Giggles.
you mentioned
That was kind of funny.
you mentioned Momana, and I kind of know this offhand from talking. I talked to her on one occasion. Isn't she like some sort of like old lady lawyer? Like,
I don't really want to mention anything like that, but yeah.
it's a pretty interesting concept for somebody who plays on the Anarchy
She's not the
server.
type of person you'd imagine to play.
Yeah,
All.
I've always found that interesting that there's a lot of really different types of people who play. Types of people you wouldn't really expect to be playing on an Anarchy Minecraft server.
Yeah, Mamana's like the one person you wouldn't expect to be playing at all.
And it's so funny too because you see her chat messages so cordial and just you know
Yeah.
very very what's the word, very proper, I guess.
Yeah, no, she is. I mean, it's kind of sad with Mamona because we was trying to help her a while ago, and then she's kind of took it as being a strokey doxter on purpose when we didn't.
Oh yeah, I remember that too. They had some beef.
Yeah, she changed her YouTube channel picture to a picture of her, and we thought, right, we'll have a look and see what it leads to. And literally, as soon as you search the reverse image search the picture, her entire address and mobile phone numbers came up like instantly.
Doesn't it pull up her like LinkedIn too?
No, it was like I don't think it did. It was some kind of lawyer's thing, like
Because
a page
I
for her
swear it
contact
pulled up some
number.
sort of like job page or something.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was something like
God. And see, I don't know why you would get so up in arms about that though. If you're putting that information out there, you kind of have to expect people to do with it what
that.
they
Well,
will.
I can see why, but we kind of I got a strokey text her number to tell her that look, you need to change your picture because all this information's you've just made it public. And yeah, she kind of took it wrong and blamed us for it.
That actually brings up a topic. Doxing on 2B2T. I don't know. You're probably not involved in all that, but I'm sure you've seen some interesting stuff over your time on 2B2T. People's information coming up. You remember any instances like that?
I'm not going to talk on any of that.
Well, I mean, you don't have to get into
Yeah,
specifics or anything. Just stuff
nah,
you've experienced.
I mean, one person phoned Chris selling him air conditioners, and he left like straight away.
God.
Like
See,
shortly after that, he just
that's one of the
went.
the shit ends of the stick when it comes to this community.
Yeah, I don't know what it's like now, but I can remember, depending on who it was, I think it was mainly my groups, to be honest. There's quite high risk of you being doxxed if you tried pissing them off anyway.
So I want to segue into to bases because you've probably been at quite a few. What were some bases that you've kind of been at on 2B and maybe on Constantia too, if you want to talk about those?
On 2v2t, I was at like the first proper base I was at on 2v2t, I think was Plugin Town on there. NFE and Plugin Town on 2v. After where did we go after Plugin Town? I think we set up Jungle Base after. No, we set up Ziggy Base after Plugin Town. That was fun for a while until I think we think Harblack's griefed that, and he left signs saying that I griefed it with him, which was kind of annoying. After Ziggy Base, we went to Jungle Base, which is basically where Passy's ice castles and stuff was. Like it's about 1,000 blocks away from it. And then I sort of got banned from bases after that. I can't quite entirely remember why, but I just got banned from being invited to places.
That's never a good sign, or maybe it is, depending on how you take it.
No, I got accused of griefing bases that I wasn't griefing. Like I did go around griefing stuff, but never to the extent that I was accused of doing. If you know what I mean.
Yes.
I basically got banned from joining bases for like a good 6-7 months.
Speaking of griefing bases, the 1 mil base, it's a very it's kind of a landmark on 2B2T. If you've read Judge's comic, it's kind of like a focal point.
Obviously.
Yeah, the legendary 2B2T comic. But what can you say about griefing that base, or I don't know how that went down. What can you say about that?
I should have uploaded the entire video I had because the whole video I had recorded on my PC at the time was a lot better than what I uploaded. Like the griefing isn't just what's in that video on YouTube. It's also like it's a 2-3 hour video after that. Like there was loads of shit that happened after that, and I think they ended up moving, and I think Pop found the second base that they made after that. Pop or I did, or I can't remember which. No, sorry. I found a base after that, I think, that they moved to, and then they moved it to another base a month or two down the line, and then popped from that later on, and just one day turned up at the base, which was kind of funny. It's like that 1 mil stuff went on for a few months.
Jesus Christ. What was it? I mean, were you basing at 1 mil? Were you kind of around that
I got
environment?
invited. Omar invited me. When we was using the back door, like I think I got access to the back door at the time for literally like 2 or 3 days, and I spawned a bunch of TNT and diamonds at a base. And new Pop kept going around and griefing Omal's bases or JDWs and stuff. So after we lost our plugin access, I invited Omal around to his base and was like, "Look, I'll give you all these items," and he gave me an invite to his base just from doing that. And like, he even took the time to take all the TNT and diamonds that I offered him and transported them all to his base. So he just took all the TNT I was going to grief him with to his own base, and then just gave me the coordinates and was like, "Yeah, just come up."
God, so it all fell into place.
Yeah, like so easily. Like I think we planned that for like literally a month. Everyone that I based with at the time, so Pop, Mike, I think Polly might have. I can't remember if Polly was still involved in Assassin Raptor were or not. Passy, all them kind of people all knew that I was on my way there and gonna blow it up. I think even Housemaster knew. Like House knew the base was about to get griefed in like a month's time.
God, and I mean, what are your thoughts on Judge's comment? Because I mean, you are a pretty prevalent part of it. I mean, it's kind of
I like
kind of
it. I think it's
interesting.
good. I've never really took the time to properly go through it, but I think it's good and I like it.
Yeah, the art of it is, I think, is absolutely great. The story is kind of a bit confusing to follow, but
Yeah. The story it's hard to work out what's going off quite a lot.
unless you, even if you have context, it is a little hard to follow. But
Yeah, no, it definitely is.
it's an interesting piece of the history of the server nonetheless.
I think
So
it's especially good that it was being made when it was as well. Like it's not like it was started in 2016. It was made all the way in 2011, 2012.
yeah, I think that's what's very nice about it. It was made during a time when the server was not nearly as hyped up as it is
I
now.
mean, it's still a lot of players back then though. But I think back then on a weekend it had like 100 players on consistently at a time. It was a lot more popular than people think it is or think it was.
Yeah, and what was the general like player base like back then compared to now?
I can remember a lot of players just didn't stick around for very long. There's a lot of people that just joined and left. Um, sorry, I'm just trying to think a minute. In general, it was just mainly people from like, if this is what you mean, it was just people from 4chan, Face Punch, something else, and that was about it. I think
Yeah, and
initially
that
we had
must
an
be.
influx of people. We
Oh
had
wait,
an influx of people come from IGN.
yeah,
Yeah, IGN made a video, and then there was loads of 9gag players that just started joining at one point. Don't know if any of them stuck around.
yeah, and that it must be like a really really stark contrast to what the player base we're getting today, which is all coming from YouTube videos.
Yeah, I think it was completely different. Like the majority of the player base was like, I think when I was playing, I was young considered like a young player, and I think I was like 15, whereas everyone else was like 19 and above. Majority of the players I'd say, were in their 20s. Whereas now it's like just regular teenagers that are all playing it, and school kids are watching videos and stuff, I think.
Yeah, I was literally like 13 or like I was so young when I started playing 2B2T. Like it
Yeah.
was I can't even imagine like.
Yeah, no one was like that age when it first really started. You had a couple of players that were, but there wasn't many at all.
Yeah, I was basically like raised in this environment, just surrounded by tons of faggots 24/7.
Fucking hell.
But yeah, Yeah, I would think that a lot of the attitudes are very different compared to a lot of current players, but still somewhat the same. Everyone still shit posts. Everybody's still same general
Yeah,
core beliefs.
yeah,
But
I suppose.
I want to jump back to what you were saying earlier. You were talking about Xdolf with Sergeant Pepper. What kind of
Yeah.
spawned that idea to make a client, that inspiration, and what was the process and the purpose of it?
Well, I'd already had a client called Adolf that I'd done ages ago. It was basically like the whole base of that was just it was crap. There was a client called Xenon years ago, and the source went public, and I think I used a module base from that and built on top of it. But I built on top of it over years, and then you had 2 hacks, 2 exploits come out, which was being sold, and it was a really shit client. And people were genuinely paying for it. Like it had multiple, like a lot of users, and it was just shit. So we kind of just went, right, let's just ruin this client's reputation and release a client that's better and free. And that was just that.
Yeah, and what were some of the things in the client that made it different at the time from other clients that you can
We
remember?
just literally added auto crystal and auto totem and was like, yeah, that's what everyone needs to play on 2B2T. Just put that in a client and people use it.
Was that some of the first instances of that being added, or was that
That was it was like one of the first clients that started actually using both of those modules, all those hacks, and I think it was definitely the first free client that started using them.
So? I mean, I assume you guys had to code that by hand, like you had to come up with that program. What was that? What was that like?
It took like 5 minutes. I already had auto eat set up, so I just changed the values to stop using food and just changed the slot numbers. And then
Nice,
auto crystal was basically just a nuker, but you just say it to only hit crystals.
nice, nice. Um,
So not really much.
so I mean, how many people were interested in this client? How many people got this client when it came out?
We we had, I don't know how many people are actually using it. We had a few hundred in the Discord. I know it got put on Wizard Hacks as well, but that was about I can't tell you an exact figure. I don't know.
So I want to jump to something else now. You yourself have a YouTube channel, and I've done a little bit of watching because it's some very interesting content. And you have 3 songs by Jared 2013 on here.
Yeah.
Very very interesting releases. How did you come in contact with these wonderful musical renditions?
Jared just recorded them and sent them me.
Did he know that you were going to post them on your channel?
Oh yeah, yeah. He ended up sending. I'd uploaded them too late, and he sent the Let It Go one to Ruggadude, and then Toro made a video on it with like I think he did the beat or whatever on a piano in the background, and then he got like a load of views from that. I'm gonna try and find it.
Good. It's so interesting hearing those videos. He had such a little like annoying squeaker voice back then. It's so funny compared to now because now he's got this like deep, masculine,
That's true. Has he
overcompensating
really?
voice.
I've not spoke to Jared in like a year, so
Shit,
I wouldn't
man, he's
know.
got like this deep like Darth Vader voice now. It's like
Wow.
completely swapped up compared to that. So that's like when I heard it. That's like when I heard it. Like I was like, is this really him? Is this really him singing this?
Shit.
Because it's
Yeah, I didn't
so
know.
completely different now.
Okay.
Speaking on that topic, though, I want to jump back to players that you knew. Who were some people that
Yeah.
that maybe helped you raid some bases, or that were a part of some of those big moments?
Yeah. Sure.
Who
What do
would
you
you
mean?
say were a huge part of that?
Oh right. I mean, I raided a few bases with Milo 66 a few times. I think me and Mike went and raided a few bases, quite a lot of bases as well. There was a time where we was using timer as a speed hack, and no one else knew about it. So we was kind of just running around the entire map finding bases, like that were like 20k within spawn or something like that. But other than that, not really many people.
Oh shit! I was gonna ask you too. Police Mike. There was a big scandal recently that found out. The Police Mike that we all thought was Police Mike that was around here was
Yeah,
actually not. It was a guy pretending to be Police Mike. He had bought the account.
yeah,
But you knew him a lot earlier, right? When he was actually
yeah.
the actual
We
Police
like a
Mike.
bunch of us were in Skype calls and stuff,
So
like
what? So what is the
early in the day.
actual Police Mike like? I mean, did he? What do you know about him?
Can't really remember. Like, I used to speak to Mike in 2012. That was back when we used to be in Skype calls and stuff with a few others. All I can remember of Mike is he was younger than what he was telling us. I think Mike told us he was like 16, 17, and it turns out he was actually like 12 or 13 at the time. And this was in 2012. That's
God,
about
that
all I can
is
say of Mike. Just know he was really
yeah.
young.
It's very interesting though, because I would love to have him on the actual Police Mike because I've interviewed fake Police Mike and
Yeah,
I haven't gone back
yeah,
to
I
listen
saw.
to it. Haven't gone back to listen to it yet, but I'm sure it's going to be an interesting thing to listen to again. People have told me that it sounds so obvious that he's faking it, but yeah, I got completely memed on by
Yeah.
fake Police Mike. So I want to
To be
ask,
honest, I think a lot of people did.
yeah, yeah, a lot of people did. He kind of beamed everybody and then kind of dropped off the face of the earth.
Yeah, literally.
But I want to ask you about your name, x0XP. I think it's a very interesting name. Everyone kind of has an origin behind the alias that they use online. So what? How did you come up with the name x0XP?
I hacked an account when I was like 9 years old for RuneScape called 0xp6.
Nice, nice. So you just
And
kind of
I
migrated
just
that
kind of
over.
used the name. Yeah, I just used the name for years and then like changed it. So
Nice.
yeah, it came from hacking some kid's account on RuneScape when I was like 9 years old.
Yeah, and like, what was that? What was that like? Kind of getting into Minecraft in general from RuneScape at the time when it was kind of like a brand new game. It was kind of like a niche game at the time.
I don't know. It was different. I think I started playing Minecraft from watching Yogscast videos. I think it was when the beta came out. It just seemed like a cool game, and I just started playing. There's
Yeah,
not
yeah.
really much more to say.
And I'm gonna kind of try to close it out here because I think we've had a really decent conversation so far about everything. I want
Yeah.
to know, ask everybody this: what do you think the future of 2v2t holds? What? How do you think it would be? It's going to be different going forward, and anarchy in
Um,
general.
I don't know. I think it's forever going to have a queue. Anarchy's never going to be the same, like proper anarchy that we had back in the day. Um, I think it'll just forever have a queue, and it'll probably always have a YouTube player base as it does. Because I mean, Fit's now on like what 1 million subscribers,
Yeah,
so it's always going to have that constant YouTube attraction. I think basically now 2v2t is just a YouTube server, and anarchy in general is just like a YouTube genre.
yeah, and it's one that seems to not be slowing down anytime soon. Um,
Yeah, 'cause it's different.
Yeah, it's something that
It's not.
people haven't experienced on any other platform before. It's something that
Yeah,
just kind of auto generates its own story. There's nothing
it's
propelling
not
it.
really like PC or anything like that either, though. So it's always going to have some kind of attraction to it.
Yeah,
Like
uh,
every game now is like has rules and stuff like that. So
yeah. I think that's what people strive for on the internet in general. Because I mean, if you think about the internet, I mean, I don't want to get too deep with this, but if you think about the internet, years and years and years ago, it was more
yeah.
like the Wild West. And you
Oh
look at
yeah,
it,
yeah,
you
definitely.
look at it now. It's just so watered down and filtered, and
Yeah,
there's feels like a lack of freedom now compared to what once was. And I think that's what a lot of people who come to 2B2T or who have come to 2B2T before strive to find because it kind of feels like the Wild West of video games.
yeah. I mean, people get banned now and stuff. Well, like shadow banned in a way and stuff like that, don't they, from servers? Which
Yeah,
never used to happen, even on 2v2t. Like we'd backdoored the server. We tried to backdoor it like 2 more times. That got that failed, but we still never got a ban.
yeah,
So yeah, it's definitely a lot more watered down, and just shit in general.
And what would you say? What's some advice for players that are maybe joining the server for the first time right now?
Don't watch a Fit MC video.
That's some solid advice. I have to agree. I have to agree with you on that. All right,
It's the worst shit you could watch.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, my virus protection notification just went the fuck off. So sorry guys, I'm not cutting that out. You're gonna have to listen to that fucking headache-inducing Windows notification. But yeah, this has been really good. Thank you so much for being on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, you're like the only person I've bothered doing this for. I'm probably not going to do it for anyone else either. So
Yeah, and
big
I'm
up.
gonna be
Thanks,
I'm gonna be the only podcast that, or not podcast, but I mean, basically a podcast that's not gonna stop. So not at least anytime soon. So
Fair
yeah,
enough.
this has been good. Thank you.
Right. See you later.